Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be one of those videos where you don't need to watch. You can pop your headphones in while you're going for a walk, have it on the telly in the background while you're settling in for the night, or I don't know, put it in the car while you're going for a drive. Well, I did decide to do a video on Christmas, and this is going to be a conversation about Pokemon card investing. And we're going to touch on some singles, we're going to touch on some sealed, we're going to talk about the hobby as a whole. Not round out the year, that video is definitely to come, but we're going to have a bit of a discussion overall about the state of the hobby and where things will go and put my take on it, because I'm more positive than ever about Pokemon card investing, and I think you guys and girls at home should be too. Now, a little diversion. So before we get into the crux of the video, if you've been an OG of this channel and you've been watching for a long time, there is some videos about a Toyota Supra, and I guess the positive news for my Christmas is the Supra has come. Now, not in the form that I would like it to, however, I did get the next best thing. So here we go, a little Christmas present. Paul Walker's Supra from the original Fast and Furious movie in Lego version. What a little Christmas present. It is Christmas evening here in Australia, and it would be very early Christmas morning, I imagine, in the US. So, and wherever else you are watching from in the world, Merry Christmas. I wasn't sure whether I'd do a video today, but I had a bit of spare time on Christmas, so let's knock one out. Now, talking about collecting, investing, this is the whole crux of the video. I wanted to talk about population of products, both singles and sealed. And I get the argument, and I agree with the argument to many points, that more people than ever are locking away sealed product. And also, the other side, more people than ever are sending cards away to get graded, and we're having higher than ever populations of the main chase cards in PSA 10s from sets. I get that. But here's a very big counter argument to it. And I'm going to talk you through a couple of examples. Let's start off with sealed. So when it comes to sealed, it's a very simple equation. We get an initial print run, which is generally the largest, and people open sets and some get sealed, and more people than ever are locking it away and putting it in cupboards or storage compartments or whatever it might be. And then generally speaking, we'll get some level of reprint. Will it be Elite Trainer boxes? Will it be booster boxes? Will it be neither? And it's just, you know, blisters to go on shelves at your local Target or Walmart or Kmart here in Australia. There is inevitably a reprint for sets though, particularly if it's a popular set, because if it's so popular and people want to rip it, why on earth would you hold that profit back? Like, give the people what they want essentially. That is where the money is going to be at. But over time, of course, less and less becomes sealed. And as a result, it starts going up in value. A, because it becomes rare, like a collectible sealed product in itself. And B, quite often, over time, 3 years has passed, 5 years has passed, the chase cards get a little bit rarer, as in there's not too many left on the market. Maybe some have got ruined, some are locked away in collections, but the sealed product gets rarer and rarer. And here's some good examples for you. The first example I wanted to give you is this beautiful Elite Trainer box sitting in front of me, Celestial Storm. Let's rewind the clock back 5 years. We'd just entered into Sword and Shield era. Sun and Moon was on the way out. I guess similar to what we are now, like we've just entered into Mega Evolution, and Scarlet and Violet's on the way out. Sun and Moon was on the way out, and most boxes, particularly Elite Trainer boxes, were still relatively cheap, but the nice ones had started to rise a little bit. Things like Unbroken Bonds, things like the beautiful Rayquaza Celestial Storm Elite Trainer box had started to go up a little bit. To give you an idea, when I bought this, I got very lucky with it. The market price was probably somewhere around about $160 US at the time, back in sort of mid 2020. And I picked it up for about $140 US. I got very lucky with it. It's a very clean example. Elite Trainer boxes can rip and tear very easily. This one hasn't. It's mint as, and I'm super pumped to have it. It's the pride of my Elite Trainer box collection. Now, at the time, $140 for a ETB was quite expensive. You're like, phew. Like, it's already, you know, tripled in price. It's done most of its appreciation. Surely it doesn't have much to go. And at the time also, they were everywhere. Well, they weren't everywhere. You know, when that initial wave comes out and they're at every store. They're in Kmart, they're in Target, they're in Walmart. You know, you can go anywhere and get an Elite Trainer box back then. And then they leave the big box retailers because supplies sold out. And it's in the hands essentially of the secondary market. And the secondary market had decided that now that it's on the secondary market and in the hands of the secondary market, that it should be 3 times the price. So no longer was it $49.99. It was now $150. That was market price that secondary market has decided, because it was off all online retailers. It was off all main stores. You couldn't go into a place or online and just click buy at retail price. It didn't exist anymore. It had moved into the hands of the secondary market. And that's what happens when a set goes out of rotation. The product, generally speaking, doesn't exist anymore in the retail space. It's now in the hands of the secondary market. And that's when we get that initial big jump. It might be double the RRP, it might be triple the RRP, like this example, because it's a good looking box, but you could still buy it everywhere. No matter where you went, no matter Facebook groups, eBay, you could type in Celestial Storm Elite Trainer Box on eBay and you'd probably get 50 to 80 of them come up. And you know, they were somewhere around that 150, 160, 170. People, of course, asking $200. They were there though. And you know what? Over time, that's just the cycle, isn't it? Eventually it becomes rarer and rarer and rarer, to the point now that you log on to eBay for any Elite Trainer Box of Celestial Storm and you might only get half a dozen examples pop up. You might get 10 examples pop up, but 5 are just so unrealistic with their price that you're never going to buy them. Like people asking $3,000. Like no one's going to spend that much on that Elite Trainer Box because that's not its market price. I haven't even checked what its market price is now, but at the time, spending $150 seemed quite expensive. Now, not so much. It's crazy how that happens. So let me just talk you through that sealed cycle. Initial print wave is the biggest. Second print wave will no doubt come out, particularly for regular Elite Trainer boxes. Of course, sometimes booster boxes as well. Sometimes they miss it. And then what happens eventually is it leaves the hands of the retail market. So these are gaming stores, brick and mortar stores, big retailers, online retailers, small online retailers, big online retailers. It leaves the hands of those and makes its way into private collections. Once it's in private collections or in the secondary market, that's when the price will double or triple. And what we're seeing at the moment, or what we've seen for most of 2025, is an advancement in that process. That process would normally take 2 to 3 years, and that process is happening in 2 to 3 days because scalpers are buying, or people that want to resell, resellers, scalpers are buying up all the retail stock that none exists. And that's where we get this massive, rapid advancement in that 2 to 3 year cycle that I just mentioned. That's why we've seen it. It's no different to it taking the 2 to 3 years. It's just happening instantly that we get that double or triple MSRP because that's what's happened. It's left the retail world and it's into the secondary market. Now, the worst part is when it gets into the secondary market in the hands of resellers, but naturally it'll just get into the secondary market onto collections and stuff. And then we get to the process or the stage that it's at now, where they are locked away in collections. People do not want to give them up because they're so rare. And that's what's going to happen to any sealed product on the Pokemon card space. Sometimes it can happen very quickly because a set was short printed. Example, Team Up Booster Box. That set was so short printed, it moved from the retail market to the secondary market incredibly quickly, and from the secondary market to locked away in collections to people that really value that booster box also very quickly. And hence we saw an extreme rapid price rise. Like Team Up has gone absolutely insane, but even if it's a massively heavy printed set, it will just take longer to get there. Even a set like Darkness Ablaze will eventually get there. Now, it won't get as expensive as Team Up because it was printed heavier, and it's nowhere near as good a Pokemon card set. Of course, those things matter as well. My point is, this whole idea of locking up collections, that's what happens. You might have all the intentions in the world of just investing and going, you know what, it's just cardboard. Like, it's just an investment vehicle for me. Okay, it's fun and they're good to look at. But you know what, you can become very quickly attached to sealed investments. Like that Celestial Storm Elite Trainer Box, at the time I was like, yeah, it looks sweet. It's got Rayquaza on it, one of my favorite Pokemon. But you know what, it's just an investment vehicle at the time. It can be, part of my collection as well. Now, you would be hard pressed to pry that out of my hands. Like, someone would have to offer me serious money for me to let that go. And that's what happens. And here's the next example I want to give you when it comes to singles. Before we do that though, Just wanted to give a big shout out to today's video sponsor, which is of course the Collector app. There'll be a link in the description to download it. Such a cool app with so many new features on it. You can check out market movers in your portfolio to see your whole portfolio. You can add, of course, your singles and sealed products in there and see what's moving, what's trending up, what's trending down, what's made massive gains. It's linked directly to eBay sales and other places, so you get accurate market data. Set Analytics as an investor is so cool. You can go to any Pokemon card set, click on Set Analytics, see what cards are moving, what aren't. The big one is though total set value. You can see how that changes over time. If you become a pro user, you can see data for over 5 years. And that is so valuable when it comes to looking at investments. So again, link in the description to the Collector app. Now, the singles example I wanted to talk to you about. So I guess that's a bit of a counter argument, the sealed side, for all these people locking it away. I get it, it's happening more than ever. And there will be heaps of examples and people saying, oh, how are they going to sell them? But look, diamond hands, that's all you got to be. You hold longer than the next person, you'll be completely fine. But when it comes to singles, the argument of extreme PSA populations, I get it. And I agree with it. I think it's devaluing PSA 10 chase cards to a degree. For example, and this is the example I use all the time, Umbreon VMAX Alt Art from Evolving Skies. It has a massive population. I think it's nudging 18 or 19,000 PSA 10s now. It's still worth a lot of money, mind you. But think about it this way. Imagine if it was so badly printed, like terribly printed, that there was only 120 copies in a PSA 10. Imagine what its value would be. So the argument stands true, in my opinion. The more PSA 10 copies out there, the less valuable the card. To a degree. Of course, the Pokemon matters. Like you can't grade a Vivid Voltage Weedle as a 10 and it have a population of 4 and you go, well, I'm going to ask $50,000 for this card because it's got a lower population than a PSA 10 Torchic. You get my point though. We're talking chase cards. The more PSA 10 copies of the chase card, arguably the less it's going to be worth, compared to if it had a lower population. Now here's the counter argument though. You can log on to eBay for many Scarlet and Violet hits, particularly the most sought after ones. And I'm just going to give you one example. The Prismatic Evolutions Umbreon EX in a PSA 10. Log on to eBay and see how much they're going for. Also, see how many are listed. So what I'm getting at is you might have very big PSA populations of the main chase cards of modern eras, but just like sealed products, people get hold of them and they lock them away in their collection and they get attached to them. And as a result, if you're attached to it, you don't want to sell it. And the only reason you would sell it if you could get a massive amount of money for it. Like if you can get overs, if you can get over the market price, you might look at selling it. It's the same with cars. Like I'm a massive car enthusiast. Like imagine if you had a mint example of an R34 GTR in Bayside Blue, like factory everything. You're just not going to want to let it go. It's such a rare piece of history. The only reason you might let it go is A, something drastic goes wrong, or B, if someone offers you insane money for it. And that's what we're finding with a lot of modern chase cards. Yes, there might be 10,000 examples. Yes, there might be populations in the 20,000s. But if you log online and you can only find 3 for sale, what does it matter? It does still matter. It does still matter. My argument of 4 still matters. But you get my new point. You get my counter argument. If there was 50 of them online and there was only 10 people chasing them, well, the 50 that have them listed are going to have to drop the price to sell them. But if there's 10,000 people US-wide, globally, that want to add an Umbreon EX PSA 10 from Prismatic Evolutions to their collection, and there's only 5 online for sale, you get the argument. Demand still outweighs supply. Demand outweighs supply of available cards sitting on the market. Another example is log on Destined Rivals Mewtwo in a PSA 10 from Destined Rivals, the main chase card. I get it, it's divisive, not everyone likes it, some people love it, I'm on the fence with it. It's still the main chase, it's still Mewtwo, it's got Giovanni in it, there's nostalgia attached to it. Go find one for a decent price online, or go find 100 copies online. They just don't exist in a PSA 10. People have them locked away in their collection really quickly. And that's the argument I guess I'm making overall, is that people lock away things in their collection. They move from the retail space to the secondary market to the collectible market. And the collectible market is when people really care about them. And once people really care about them, they don't want to let them go unless they can get high value for them. And that's what's going to happen eventually to all the main chase cards and all the main sealed products that people want to look for. I guess that's the crux of this argument, isn't it? By the way, have a great Christmas. I hope everyone's been spoilt and spent time with those that mean a lot to them. I'm Michael, Pokey Oz. Catch everyone next time.